Welcome to the latest episode of the B Movie Club. I'm your host Kevin. This week we'll be discussing the 1982 action comedy classic police thriller 48 Hours, starring Eddie Murphy, Nick Nolte, James Remar. The list goes on and on. It's an all-star cast. For those of you joining us for the first time, each week on the B Movie Club, we discuss a guilty pleasure, a forgotten classic of the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, the aughts, whatever. Typically things that came out at least 10 years ago, give or take. Okay, there's a hard and fast rule. These are typically B movies, as the name of the club suggests, which means they're kind of things that you wouldn't necessarily think of as being classics. You know what I mean? Oftentimes off the beaten path, but sometimes we will go into those critical favorites, okay? What we'll do is each week on our page on Facebook, Original B Movie Club, please like it. I'll post what movie we'll be doing based upon maybe some of your suggestions. You can watch it streaming instantly on Netflix and send me any questions, comments, favorite scenes, favorite quotes, anything else you want to get off your chest. You can also subscribe to our page on YouTube, Kevin D, that's me, okay? If there's any confusion. You can also reach me on Twitter at KD9575. Feel free to follow me, like me, subscribe, and spread the word, okay, homie? 48 Hours. In this movie, a crazed killer, Albert Ganz, escapes from prison with the help of his buddy Billy Bear. They get into a shootout with some cops. They steal Nick Nolte's gun, who's Jack Cates. He's this tough, mean San Francisco police officer. He's serious, okay? So, because Ganz is so crazy, he's still out shooting people, but now he's using the cop's gun to do it. So, people on high tell Nick Nolte, hey, you got 48 hours to get him back before Internal Affairs comes down, before the chief, the mayor, the governor get involved, the National Guard. So he has no leads, he has no idea what to do. One thing he does have is he knows that a former friend, associate, business partner of Ganz, Reggie Hammond, played by Eddie Murphy, has been locked up, and maybe he can get him out on a 48-hour pass to help him out. One problem, as you may know, Reggie Hammond, Eddie Murphy, African-American, okay? Nick Nolte, I shouldn't say that. Jack Cates is kind of a racist. I don't know about Nick Nolte. So there's a little bit of friction between those two guys. One's the crook, one's the cop. One's African-American, one's white and crazy racist. So there's a little friction, okay? So they're on the loose, trying to go track down this killer. They're going to the old hangouts. They're working together, but they don't really like each other. These things that seem like cliches, but hey, they got to start somewhere. And of course, over the course of the movie, I don't want to spoil everything. They learn to appreciate each other. Look beyond skin color, okay? Judge a man by the content of his character, not judge a book by its cover, okay? So, it is streaming instantly on Netflix. It came out in '82. I'm sure everybody's seen it by now, okay? If you haven't seen it, there's still time. Bust out your Netflix, get out your old dusty videotape, watch 48 Hours. Directed by Walter Hill, who did a number of things that you might have seen. He did Witness. There you go, for example. He did The Warriors. One little interesting connection there. Luther, the guy who plays Luther in 48 Hours, okay, whose name I always screw up, David Patrick Kelly. I think that's right, give or take. He also plays a character named Luther in The Warriors. Coincidence? I don't know. Could be. A lot of people were offered the role of Jack Cates. Originally they were thinking Clint Eastwood. He turned it down to do Escape from Alcatraz a few years earlier. Mickey Rourke turned it down. There were a lot of people who turned it down before they eventually settled on on Nick Nolte. Eddie Murphy, this was actually his screen debut. I mean, he was in, obviously, Saturday Night Live, but this is the first, jump to the big screen, okay? He was not the first choice. Like I said, they actually wanted to have Richard Pryor at one point play this role. He turned it down. Eventually, it made its way to the young, upcoming Eddie Murphy. It's funny, though, and I actually made a point of this earlier, Eddie Murphy was almost fired from this movie for not being funny enough. Okay? They wanted to be action. They wanted to have some comedy. They didn't feel Eddie was funny enough. Okay? Problem. They also were concerned about the violence in this movie. There's a big shootout between Gans and his gang, and then he shooting cops in the hotel lobby. It's very upsetting. All you Breaking Bad fans, if you pay close attention, you'll see Mike from Breaking Bad as one of the cops who gets killed at the beginning of the movie. He pleads to Nick Nolte, "Don't you do it, Jack." That's Mike. Okay? So there you go. He also, you might recognize him, also was later in Beverly Hills Cop. Also, well, he was a bad guy in that one. So there you go. Why don't you get the hell out of here, cuz? You know him, don't you? So there you go. So there's all sorts of interesting things going on there. Eddie Murphy, obviously not much of an actor at this point. He does really well, but at one point he has to hold a gun, and he'd never done such a thing like that. So he said, he actually told inside the actor's studio, he said he basically called upon his inner Bruce Lee, like his, I'm Bruce Lee kind of mantra when he's doing the action thing. So that's something you don't get everywhere else, only here on the B Movie Club. So write that down, okay? What else can I tell you about this movie? Here's a bizarre coincidence. They drop the F word literally 48 times over the course of this movie. Coincidence? 48 hours? 48 F-bombs? I don't know. Coincidence? Or were the movie gods looking down upon this movie and saying, hey, let's have 48 F-bombs? I don't know. Can't explain it. I said that Richard Pryor turned down this role that eventually went to Eddie Murphy. Other actors, Gregory Hines, who was busy with the Cotton Club, but would later become an action star in, of course, Running Scared, old favorite of ours, and a young Denzel Washington turned it down. How crazy is that? Denzel's turning down this role. A young Denzel. So I guess he was on St. Elsewhere at this time. He had things going on, right? James Remar, who plays Albert Gans, you might recognize him from Dexter. More recently, he plays Dexter's ghostly father on that show. They said in order to get really into character, he wouldn't go to sleep the night before, wouldn't take a shower to give him that kind of greasy, grizzled look. James Remar, of course, all you Walter Hill fans, was also in The Warriors Come Out and Play, yay. So there you go. Something else I can tell you about this movie. The original script for 48 Hours basically had the villain of this movie, kidnapping the governor's daughter and with strapping a bomb to the daughter, saying, give me my $1 million, in 48 hours the bomb will go off. So the meanest, toughest cop has to go and collaborate with the meanest, toughest criminal to find this other bad guy before the bomb goes off. Obviously, they junked that whole plot line and came up with something totally different. But doesn't it sound like a good movie? I'd go see that movie. Why don't they make them, I don't know, they call it another 48 Hours. Something like that. Where do I sign up for that? They should do a Kickstarter on that, okay? As I said earlier, how Mickey Rourke had turned down the role of Jack Cates. Clint Eastwood had turned it down. Other actors that had turned down the role that eventually went to Nick Nolte include Jeff Bridges. Chris Christopherson turned it down. These were both the fourth or fifth choices for both of these roles. Very sad. Originally, Eddie Murphy's character was called Willie Biggs, and Eddie Murphy said, no, my character's not going to be called Willie Biggs, because he thought that was way too stereotypically Hollywood African-American name. So they compromised. Hammond was the last name of a buddy he knew way back when, who's funny, so he took the last name. And the compromise was they insisted that he go by Reggie, which is still that kind of Hollywood, stereotypical African-American name that he was kind of steering clear of. So there you go. All these interesting facts. Here's an interesting question. Does this movie get made in 2013? In 1982, you could have a crazy racist cop be the hero of a movie. Okay? 2013, that's not going to fly. Okay? Interestingly enough, I mean, this is really horrible. It's like Nick Nolte when he's talking to, I keep saying Nick Nolte, Jack Cates, played by Nick Nolte, when he's talking to Eddie Murphy's character, Reggie Hammond, he explains, oh yeah, sorry about all that overt racism the entire movie. That's just part of the job. Really? That's part of the job of being a police officer in San Francisco in 1982? That's pretty bad. Is that on the job application? Horrible, horrible. Anywho, he learns the error of his ways, and they're bosom buddies by the end of the movie. So I guess he learned his lesson? I don't know. I can't explain it. So that's 48 Hours. It was obviously a huge hit. It became the seventh highest grossing movie of 1982. Currently holds a 95% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, so you know it's good. It has a lot more drama, more action than we're used to seeing from most Eddie Murphy movies. Again, I mean, it's not Coming to America where you're falling out of your seat laughing, but it does have some funny scenes in it. So there you go. It is still streaming instantly on Netflix, so check it out. Let me know what you think. Next week, I'm going into the Wayback Machine, back to the 60s, for that horror classic, Rosemary's Baby, starring Mia Farrow, Nick Cassavetes. The list goes on of these famous actors from back in the day. It is streaming instantly on Netflix, so check it out. Send me your questions, comments, favorite scenes, favorite quotes, and maybe we'll talk about it on the show. Maybe. And if you have Skype and you'd like to be on the show, just give me a jingle. If there's some movie you'd like to discuss, a movie you're looking forward to talk about, you got some things you want to get off your chest, let me know. Maybe we can do it on the show. So there you have it. As you know, I end every episode with a totally out of context quote, and here it is. There's one thing you gotta learn about me. I fight dirty. So there you go. I kind of edited that for content and language, so forgive me. So that was 48 Hours, starring Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte. Next week, Rosemary's Baby with Mia Farrow. Thank you for joining us, and be well.